Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Simi. Thank you, Dr. Simi. And I feel very privileged to have with you all, to being with you all since the beginning. And today's my topic is women in Hinduism. So let us take a look on first slide, and we will take overview of Hinduism. The theory of creation, which is stated in Hinduism, we can say that it is based on equality, or it states the equality actually. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, one of the texts in Hinduism, which is very well accepted, there it is stated that once Brahma, that means Chetan Tattva or consciousness, splitted himself in two same halves, one man and one woman. So the creation of woman is with the man. So simultaneously, both men and women are created, and there is both are sharing equal portions of the same consciousness. So nobody is having less or more portion of consciousness, or nobody came earlier or later. So it is very well explained in this theory that both are equal. So the gender equality is very much stated, or we can say in this theory of creation, we can say that men and women will look to both men and women equally. Nobody is superior or inferior. That is one thing. Next, core value or principle of Hinduism I want to share with you is vision of oneness, or the oneness of the soul. The concept of soul or Chetan Tattva or spirit is stated in Hinduism. Every living organism has same Chetan Tattva. There is no difference between soul or spirit, and soul has no gender. It is genderless. Soul is genderless. So we can easily see that males and females are equally. It is established in Hinduism that males and females are equal. So gender equality again established in Hinduism on the basis of this principle also. Hindu scriptures also emphasizes spiritual equality between men and women, and the tradition treats everyone, maybe of any color, caste, creed, or having different socio-economic background. Everybody is treated, or tradition treats everyone with complete equality, both spiritually and practically also. The third principle or core value of Hinduism I would like to share with you is diversity. I think Mr. Andrew has mentioned in his presentation just before this presentation about the diversity. And in Hinduism also, we not only accept the diversity, but respect also. And we all know our universe is very much diversified, and everything or everybody is different from one another in every manner. Biologically, we are different, but it cannot be the basis of discrimination. So in Hinduism, it is stated that this difference cannot be a basis of discrimination. We cannot discriminate anybody with on the basis of their color, their caste, their shape, their structure, their role in the universe. So living organism or non-living organisms, all are equally important, and everybody has their own role. everybody's role has equal importance. And so women and men are hold equal importance, and they both are coexistents, as we all know that in the family or in the society, men and women, we cannot keep them away from each other, because they are related with so many things. That means we are we have blood relations also. We have work relations, and we have to work together. That is our destiny, or this is the nature. Actually, it is very natural. So we both are coexistence. We cannot exist without each other. So this theory is also very much stated in Hinduism. And so we accept this diversity or differences, gender differences, but we also admit that, or we also emphasize that it cannot be the base of discrimination. So men and women cannot be discriminated because of their biological difference. The next principle or core value I want to share with you is Hinduism accepts developmental model which is spiral in nature. That means everybody or everything is complementary to each other. We all are incomplete in some or other way, and we all together begins our journey to have to get that completion. So it is very much natural to complement each other, and directly or indirectly, we all work like that, or behave like that. Everybody is interdependent. Sometimes in feminism, especially, dependency terms becomes negative, but it is not like that. Dependency in nature, we always experience that type of dependency. Everybody is dependent on each other. So everybody is interdependent, and same case is with men and women also. And everybody's progress is also interdependent. Nobody can grow without directly or indirectly of other. So in the universe, progress or development is always interdependent to each other. Now, environmentalists always state that, or nature lovers always propagate this value, you can say. So developmental model of Hinduism, it is very much practical, and it is universally applicable also. So this core value or principle of Hinduism, I think it is very much applicable to our family and society. The role of men and women, we live in different atmosphere, or we have different biological structure, inherent qualities, and we are dependent to each other for progress also, or growth also. That is this is stated in this principle, we can say. Fifth and last principle I would like to share with you is, in Hinduism, it is stated that goal of life should be emancipation. That means Unnayan. We have to achieve some level of excellence in our life. That should be our goal of life. And everybody has right to get emancipated or to grow. So every creature in the universe has right to grow or to get emancipated. And it is assumed that the opportunity of self-development to be given to everyone, in the family and in the society. So it is same with females also. Females have the right to get opportunity to develop themselves in the family and in the society. This is principally stated in the Hinduism. All these 5 principles or core values are of Hinduism are acceptable. It is practically, we can also, it reflects practically also. One peculiar characteristic or special characteristic of Hinduism is goddess worship. This is something special with the Hinduism. We worship a god in the nature of goddess also, and female god, you can say. And Hinduism reveres many powerful female deities. We all know about that a knowledge of God for us is Saraswati or Sharda, which is goddess, female deity. God of strength, we see in the in Lakshmi, in Durga or Kali. Kali and Durga both are goddess of strength, and God of wealth is Lakshmi. So this type of beliefs in beliefs in Hinduism, they prove that Hinduism worship the strength or acknowledges the strength which is inherent in females. It symbolizes feminine power and spiritual strength also. And motherhood, we always see motherhood as an obstacle in the development of females' life, or what you can say, penalty. The new term is emerged nowadays. It is a penalty. So it is not like that. Principally, in Hinduism, motherhood is not a biological term actually. And it is also stated that, many examples we can see in Hinduism or in practice, that if any male achieves highest level in his sadhana, we called him mother. So male have to achieve some level to be called as mother. And in Marathi, Jnaneshwar Mauli, Tukaram Mauli, like that. So this type of beliefs we can see in our society. We practice it, and it is very much deep rooted in the Hindu society, I can say. There is continuous series of empowered women, which proves that in Hinduism, principally male and female are treated equally. Since Vedic era, women in India have registered their powerful existence in every walk of life. I think most of you are known about the fact that Vedic era was a very progressive in that manner, and not only females of royal families, but females of all type of from all type of families, or from all type of socio-economic background. They are free to move anywhere, they can have any type of education. They are free to take decision about their marriage. So this is the documented one in our scriptures or in Vedas, and we have n number of women in that era. After that, Ramayana, in the era of Ramayana, we have so many women who were warriors, who were administrative, having administrative skills or administrators. Tara was excellent in administration. Kaikeyi, wife of Dashrath, she was a great warrior. We all know about it. And in Mahabharat, there are so many women who are contributed in social services also. Women in architecture, women in science, women in mathematics, women artists, women spy, women warriors. There are so many number of women we can see in every century, and in the area also. The dark area, you all know about it. But in this era also, the women registered their existence in some or more field of society. And I can give some examples. I would like to give some examples. Like Megasthenes had stated that Chanakya had bodyguards, female bodyguards. In 16th century, Rani Durgavati, who was a Gond, Gond tribe is there in Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra in India. She was from that Gond community. In 17th century, Rani Chennamma in South, she was the ruler. And for, I think, 15 years, she ruled her empire. In 18th century, Ahilyadevi Holkar was there. She was from Dhangar Samaj, again a tribal community. So we have so many women in from different caste and creed and religion also. In freedom movement also, we can have ample of examples of women who have contributed in non-violence freedom movement also, and Sashastra movement also. So this is our history, and I think if we have some such type of examples, it means it is because of only principally in Hinduism we have equality, gender equality, and that is the reason society didn't resist or oppose the existence of women in different field of society. Then no restriction by Hindu Dharma on women, you can say. But there are challenges and issues also. In present era, or some centuries, you can say, historical and social factors have led to many discriminatory practices in our society. We have to identify these discriminatory practices such as dowry or patriarchal norms, stereotypes for men and women. We should identify these discriminatory practices and try to eliminate it or try to resolve it. These discriminatory practices results in limiting women's rights and opportunities. The rights and opportunities which are given in Hinduism principally, these discriminatory practices are limiting women's rights and opportunities at present era. So these are our challenges, and these are the issues we have to resolve in Hindu community, you can say. Society forgot core Hindu values and real meaning of dharma. That is also one major issue we have to tackle with. And the real challenge before us is to reintroduce and re-establish principles of this ancient Hindu dharma, which is based on humanity, equality, and fraternity. I think all religions are basically based on humanity, equality, and fraternity. But over the period, some ill practices or discriminatory practices, exploitative practices came into existence in the society, and that is the challenge before us. and in Hindu society also, or for Hindu dharma also, this is the major challenge to how to tackle with these practices and to return on the you can say our real Hindu dharma, or to establish our real Hindu dharma, to establish these core values in the society. That is, I think, is the major issue, and this is what in a short period of time I want to discuss with you or share with you. I am very much thankful to the organizers to give me opportunity for giving me opportunity to share my views on Hinduism and the challenges and issues with the Hinduism today. I'm thankful to all, and thank you for patient listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for delivering such an enlightening and insightful talk.